started. Now it asks your permission, right? So anyway, hey Claire, hey Kat. Is it Tara or Tara? Let me know because I love pronouncing people's names right because y'all know I don't like Anna. It's Anna, one N, phonics. So anyway, we go out to the yurt and it's like our chimney got sheared off when the snow load like just sheared off and then our outhouse was like tipped over. We managed though. And what I think is so funny is it's so relaxing still to be out there despite all this shit going on, right? And it reminds me of like, when I was a climbing guide and just how when life is simple, we can be so content, right? Even though there's inconveniences like living out of my car and, carrying all your shit on your back in the mountains. It's like heavy, right? And it's kind of harder to walk. And you have everything you need on your back. You have everything you need in your car or whatever it is. There's such a beauty and relaxation to simplicity. And we tend to get really, really confused about what truly makes us happy, right? I mean, really, that's the only reason that we suffer is because we have this fucked up idea of what actually makes us happy. And then we stay attached to all of these things that actually change and that we have no control over, right? Including ourselves. So today I wanted to talk about how to let go in order to grow. And I didn't mean for that shit to rhyme. It just does. Okay? Okay. So there's a first, like, kind of obvious analogy that I wanted to give you. So everybody thinks about the butterflies and they think they go into their chrysalis and that they grow these wings and then they fly out, right? Did you know that what actually happens is they weave their little chrysalis, their pupa, and they fucking dissolve. They digest themselves with enzymes. Hmm. And so, like, because if you opened it, just like this goop would come out. It's not like there would be this caterpillar with like immature wings growing, right? This goop would come out. However, there are these groups of um, cells called, I'm not shitting you, imaginal discs. We all have imaginal discs as well. Anyway, these imaginal discs form like their head, like there's one for the head, one for like the body, one for the wings, one for the legs, whatever. There's like they form these like major groups and then they like come together. So I think when we look at nature, it can sometimes seem like a trite analogy, but we are of the earth. We are of nature. So it's always so crazy to me that we think humans are exceptions to the rule, right? Another analogy, lobsters. Hang in there with me, even though this is getting all like Discovery Channel, right? So lobsters, they have a shell that they're in, right? They have their shell, and when they grow, they have to molt, right? Just like other animals drop their antlers or their fur or whatever. They molt, their shell comes off, and then it takes about like 6 to 8 weeks for the new shell to harden. And during this time, they're super vulnerable, right? They are soft and are susceptible to predators, right? And this whole process takes so much energy. The molting of the shell, the growing of the new shell. So, what's interesting about lobsters is they're different from humans. So, as humans, well, and basically every other living creature, we have chromosomes with telomeres at the end, right? And when we age, it's because the telomeres get chopped off as we age, and eventually they get really short, and then we die if we're dying of natural causes. So we have this enzyme called telomerase that can repair the tips of our chromosomes, right? This is what's great about having a life coach that's like into science like this. So this enzyme comes in and it repairs them and can extend them. So when we're younger, we have this enzyme that can then repair, and then we grow and all of this. But then it goes away as we get older. Lobsters make this shit for their whole life, right? As adults. So they can live like over 100 years and or like who knows longer, right? And then they just keep repairing those ends of the chromosomes, the telomeres, and they can keep growing. So they shed and grow and shed and grow and shed and grow. Do you know why they die? Because eventually they don't have the energy to keep shedding. And then they're basically like trapped in this shell. I know that's horrible to think about, but that's essentially why. So like think about it. It's this inability to let go of that shell, right? And that's their demise. Not just the like natural deaths, so to say, right? So we have so many examples of needing to let go. We have autumn, fall, right? Trees drop their leaves so that they can draw their resources inward for spring, the new growth. We are not any different than that. As humans, we need to do the same thing to grow into the next level. I mean, we do it like we should do it annually, right? This is why I do the year in review. And in autumn, we do a whole letting go thing in freedom school, right? But as humans, what do we shed, right? As humans, what is it that we let go of if we don't have this kind of shell or whatever? Oh, Tara's saying, Tara likes Sarah. Hey, Tara. So I wanted to show you, oh, how cute. My daughter wrote our little happy anniversary on my whiteboard here. So I'm just going to get rid of this. You can see I was doing a class before, but oh, it's blurry on Zoom. I hate that. Anyway, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, right? So we have our thoughts that generate our feelings, which drive our actions, which create our results in life. What we as humans need to shed in order to evolve to the next phase is our thoughts. That is our version of dissolving. This is our version of molting our shell, right? As humans, what we need to let go of for the next level. Oh, hold on, my dog wants to get out here. As humans, what we need to get to the next level is to let go of our old way of thinking, our old way of being, and our habitual patterns, right? And some people are like, but there are things that are eternal in us. And that may be true, but it's really important not to get attached to what you think that is, whether it's a value. Our values change over time. When we aren't willing to question our values as we grow and as we evolve, we're going to get stuck. Because our values, when we created them, we weren't born with them. We decided what our values would be. We learned, we chose, we kept some. We're not the same person later as when we first took those on. So we really need to look at where are we at now and what are our values that we want to take on now, right? Same thing with beliefs. You know, some people are like, no, if I believe something, that's like a thing. I'm going to believe it forever, right? But no, beliefs are what? Beliefs are thoughts that we have over and over and over. And so if we learn something that challenges a belief, we can choose to not believe that anymore. So many people struggle with this. They go like, oh, how can I evolve to that next level if it means letting go of a belief? Because why? We identify so much with our story. We identify so much with who we think we are, with our values, the way we do things, our beliefs. So if we can't constantly question those, if we can't constantly revise those, we're going to get stuck. We're going to be like the frickin' lobster and suffocate within our own inability to shed that which no longer serves us, that which can no longer contain who we've become. So it's really essential to remember, in Buddhism, we talk about one of the core reasons for suffering is attachment, right? And so, really, we choose every time we evolve to the next level what we want to take with us and what we want to leave behind. You know, um, I remember when I started off as a climbing guide, right? Like, I mean, I grew up in East Palo Alto with like drive-by shootings. I couldn't even play in the front yard. And then people would die even in their houses or in their backyards because people would shoot bullets up and then they'd come and land on their head, right? It was like a violent neighborhood. Hold on. So then I go to UC Santa Cruz and I'm surrounded by like these amazing free thinkers, people that are like, let's go for a hike in the dark and take mushrooms. And I'm like, hike in the dark? Aren't we going to get jumped? But they're like, silly, it's the ancient redwoods. They'll protect you. There's fairies out there and shit. And we'd go into like the old growth redwoods. If I had held on and wasn't willing to expand and let go of who I thought I was, I wouldn't have, been open to meeting people from the outdoor recreation center and learning how to climb. Then I became a freaking climbing guide. I mean, I was set to be a PhD psychologist. You know, I was a research assistant. I was like there. And then I was like, no, wait, I want to be a climbing guide for a decade. It was amazing. But if I was so attached to how I wanted things to go and how I thought it was supposed to look, I would have never had that more than a decade of all those epic adventures that I would never trade in for anything. And then after that, feeling like I had this amazing adventurous life, I was like, well, I blew out my knee and I was like, well, I can't always, and I lost like 3 expeditions of work, which was like half my year's income. And I was like, well, I kind of need another form of income. I'm an only child. I have 2 aging parents. So I met these nurse practitioners out near Namche Bazaar doing some high altitude research, and they were with Stanford. I was like, nurse practitioner, what's that? Found out about it. I was like, I want to be that. And so went back, applied, got into UC San Francisco. Then I'm letting go of my identity as a climbing guide, and now I'm going to be a nurse. And I felt so like normal, and it was so painful to let go of that identity of like being on the fringe of society and having this job that very few people had, very few, even fewer women had, right? To go back to graduate school and get my master's at UC San Francisco, it just sounded so much like what I was supposed to do. And you rebels out there, I know that you know what I'm talking about. When I'm like, I didn't want to feel like I was doing something I was supposed to do my whole life. I'd gone like against the grain, it felt like at that point, right? But I also wanted some other options. So I had to let go. I went to therapy because I was like, this is really painful for me to let go of this old identity. It was super painful, but I did it. And then it opened up this whole other world for me, right? Then I went back and I was like, oh, I love this shit. I'm going to go back to school and become a midwife. Then I'm going to go back to school, like right, and got my doctorate. And now I'm doing a postdoctorate at Hopkins for psychiatric mental health. And then I'm like subspecializing in psychedelic assisted therapy. It's like so many interesting things that I would have never grown into if I hadn't been willing to let go of what I did. Now, this is hard because we're really good at something. It feels easy. We can feel confident. Like I was like, I'm good at what I do in the mountains, right? Tens of thousands of hours outside. And then to all of a sudden not know what the fuck was going on anymore. And having to learn from scratch and become a novice again. And to not feel confident with what I was doing. Totally anxiety producing, right? Same thing, going back, when I went back into psychiatric stuff, it was like the write-ups and all these other things and theories. And it was like, whoa, okay, this is beyond what I knew before. I had to be willing to be uncomfortable, to not know what was going on, and to be a novice again, right? It happened again when I became a mom, right? I mean, I didn't even babysit, y'all. My husband and I came back with our baby. I remember it was a carrier. We put her down on the living room floor, and we were like, now what the fuck are we supposed to do? I was like, talk about starting from scratch. I didn't know what the fuck being a parent was supposed to look like. And so that was crazy. But every time we do that, we grow into our next evolution. But I want you to remember that it's not going to be easy, right? Like this whole process is actually super uncomfortable because we're attached and letting go feels like we're losing our identity. But I want to remind you, like all of that stuff, those are just thoughts. Who we think we are, what we believe, all of that, they're just thoughts. And we can choose to be rebirthed every morning if we like. Like, in Ayurveda, every time the sun rises, we can have a new beginning. We get a redo, right? You could literally today choose to believe something different, to prioritize differently, to be differently in the world, right? I mean, it's really powerful stuff, but we get so attached to how we do things because it's comfortable. And because letting go of that feels really fucking scary, right? Because, and but we need to do it because we can't, like Einstein said, we can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created it. So your life might right now may not be a problem, if we're looking at that quote, but your life right now, if you want it to be different, you can't do that with the same thinking you have right now because it was this current thinking that created this, which could be awesome. But if you want to do something differently, we need to think differently. I see this in business as well, right? How I thought when my business was smaller is very different than how I had to think when it started growing, how I thought about money, how I thought about investing in the business. And then I had to think differently about what I spent on coaches. When I started out, I, paid for, kind of basic coaching. And then as I leveled up my life, it was like, no, I need this like higher level. But oh my God, that's spending a lot of money on a coach. And but then I would do it, right? Because I would like that person had a different level of thinking than I did. And that helped me rise up, right? And you don't need someone else to do that. But we do know that like our levels of success are often the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. So think about that because they're like planting the seeds of thoughts in you and either affirming or shooting down your new thoughts, right? So we need to really realize that in order to do things differently and to create a different reality, to create a different result than what we currently have is going to require new ways of thinking. There's no way around it, right? It's a necessity. So, one of the things that I really want to encourage you to do is to think about what are the thoughts happening right now that you need to let go of in order to shift into that next level of being for you, right? We need to let go so we can grow. So, what do you need to let go of to take your life to the next level? Sometimes we think, oh, the past wasn't supposed to happen the way it did. That one people get stuck in so much, like obsessing about why did that happen? It should have been different. My life should have been different. And it's stuck back here instead of looking out there into what's possible, right? Or maybe we have an idea that I can't be complete unless I have a partner to share this life with. Or I was born to be a mother and it's devastating that I'm not. Or I'm shy. That's not possible for me. Might be easy for you, but it's not possible for me. Or family first. Family first, and it's not okay to disappoint parents or family. Those are beliefs I see all the time that people have that keep them from going to the next level. There are so many more. And it doesn't even have to be like a negative belief. It could be something like, I'm capable of making $100,000, but like then maybe you want to make more because you want to build a retreat center. Like one of my goals is to build a donation only retreat center like Spirit Rock. It'd be so awesome to have either in Alaska or the Big Island, right? You need money for that. So it's like, well, then we have to change our thinking, right? So it's not necessarily we go from a bad thought to a good thought, but we think about, well, how am I thinking currently, right? To create then, and then now what do I need to let go of? What's blocking me? What beliefs are blocking me from getting to that next level? Or like, I'm not worthy to invest in, right? I mean, mental health to me is like the number one thing we need to invest in. What else do we have if we don't have mental health? I tell you, it's hella hard to work and do all kinds of shit and show up as a good person when I was really depressed, right? Like, so prioritizing my mental health, investing in my mental health is a priority. I had to like change the belief that, I can do everything and need to sacrifice for my family, right? You got to take care of your assets, right? Which is you. So, what's one belief that's been holding you back, right? First, become aware of that because it starts with awareness. Then, I want you to think about what you need to believe instead. So, using the examples I gave above, it could be like, what if the past was exactly what was supposed to happen, right? Because y'all know what happens when we fight with reality. We lose because reality is just reality. And why do we know that whatever happened was supposed to happen? Because the fucking happened. Or otherwise it wouldn't have happened, right? So how about we believe instead that what happened was supposed to have happened and that it happened for us. We can choose that. That will help us grow as opposed to keeping us stuck. What if we believed instead that we're worthy to go for our dreams now instead of needing to get another degree, right? Or maybe that we can be whole without a partner or a child. Or maybe that, we aren't shy anymore, or that our shyness doesn't mean we can't speak in public or rock a presentation, right? Or what if we believe it's okay to disappoint others in order to stay true to ourselves? So, what is the belief that now you need to grow into, right? In order to shed that old shell? What do you need to dissolve so that those imaginal discs can take form and blossom into this next chapter of your life? So, I want you to select a thought that counteracts the one you need to let go of, and you need to practice that over and over until it becomes a belief. Again, that's all a belief is a thought that we've had over and over and over. So practice that until it becomes a belief. Now, sometimes those new thoughts are like baby steps, right? You can check out episode 14 of the podcast about how to create new beliefs. Sometimes we can't just jump to a totally different belief, but we can say like, it's possible. It's possible that the past was meant to happen for me. We can use like baby steps, right? But we need to practice these new thoughts. We need to let go of what we need, what we thought we believed, what we thought how we were doing things is the best thing ever, so that we can create space, that beginner's mind for the next level, right? And letting ourselves shift, right? That can be our values, that can be some long held beliefs. We need to at least question them and ask, do I still believe this? Right? With my clients, I always do a values exercise and I tell them, some of my clients are with me for years. I say, we need to check in on this every year because they can change. And it's important to know when that happens, right? And we need to shed that, believe the new belief until we are that person who already has that thing that we're wanting to create in terms of how we think and how we feel and how we are in the world. Because then and only then will the results level up with how we're thinking. We have to be in alignment with our thoughts, with what we're creating, right? Okay, so Get clear about a thought that's holding you back and pick one that will counter that to take you to the next level, one to replace it, and practice that over and over. Okay? Okay, y'all. Thank you so much. It's Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday. I have a call with my Freedom School students next, so I'm super excited. I know some of you are on here. Hey, Haley. So I'll see y'all in a minute, and enjoy the day. It's gorgeous here in Alaska. I'm super stoked to get out there. Okay? Bye. Okay. Almost done closing all the windows. Ciao.